This is where the normal person on the street looks at us and says, "You guys are nuts. I want higher wages." So explain to like the regular person.
They want higher wages until they go lease a car.
Right.
And see what that shit costs. And then it's like, oh, maybe this isn't great.
The average car is $730 for a new.
Can we admit though that higher
Crazy.
inflation has caused a positive? You saw that the UPS thing this week of they're giving $170,000 plus with benefits or whatever.
Yes.
Like, haven't we had some positives from a volatile situation?
Yes, but the cost is somewhere else. It's trade-offs.
Yes.
I'm okay with those trade-offs.
Right. Well, I think the main issue is that the prices have risen faster than the wages.
Yes, that's why people are still not happy.
And so people are actually meaningfully worse off today than they were 3 years ago, and that's totally normal. Anytime you have one of these inflationary cycles, the prices rise, and then it takes a while for the wages to rise.
Right,
the wages don't start. All your wages for everybody in the building. Right?
Don't get started.
Yeah, come on.
What are we doing here?
No, it's not you, Bob. No, wait, but real wage growth just went positive. But I'm guessing if you were to do it cumulatively, it's definitely lagged.
That's right.
For sure.
That's right. And that part, just important to recognize that the level of prices, particularly food and energy and things like that, most significantly impacts the lowest wage earners because they're spending on those goods, right? And they can't change, whether you buy a $700 a month car or $600 a month car, you got wheels that takes you where you need to go. If you got to buy your food, buy your gas to get to your job, like you don't have a choice. And so that's why there's no more regressive tax than inflation.
But this time, the lowest income workers...
Regressive meaning there is no tax in the economy that more specifically hits the lowest income earners.
Exactly.
But wasn't this time unusual in the sense that the lowest income workers actually had the biggest nominal wage growth?
Sure,
after being held back for 20 years.
After being held back for years, plus the fact that the prices have still meaningfully affected.
You're saying this is every time, though. This is the cadence of it.
Always, right? Because those people who are most sensitive to price rises are those people who have to spend on a certain basket of goods.
You see how the UAW opened up negotiations last week with the automakers? They said, let's start with a 40% wage hike. That's their opener. And then a 5% rise every year for the next 4 years or something.
Yeah, it reminds me of the good old days in Detroit.
Punch them in the face as your first negotiating tactic.
That's right. And that gives you a sense like that's all catch up, right? Everyone's still facing the rising costs and the wages need to catch up. And so when we look at that inflation chart and we tick 3%, well, just think about all of the additional negotiations that we have. All the people who haven't had their wages rise, right? All the people who, they need a year or 2 years or 3 years for those wages